Hello, relatives. Greetings to you. I'm going to go ahead and do a reading out of this book, The Meditation with the Native American Elders. I'm just going to read it and then I'm just going to share upon it. Nothing fancy, nothing edited. It's all going to be uncut and in the raw. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I am getting the sage ready. I probably should have done that before I started the meeting, but well, I went ahead and started it anyway. So we'll go ahead and do that. I want to say season's greetings, happy holidays, or whatever it is that you say. However it is that you believe. I don't celebrate Christmas, so I'm just glad it's over with. I'm thankful that a lot of people had good Christmas, good holiday season, and I'm very grateful for that, for your families and for the people and for our communities. But I also know that a lot of our relatives struggle, particularly during that time. And so I, was very mindful that many of our relatives are going through a hard time, during those particular times. Myself, since I don't celebrate the holidays, I usually kind of struggle with that a little bit. But at the same time, there's a lot of purpose and there's a lot of reasons why I don't celebrate or why I don't observe those holidays. But I did have the opportunity to gather with other people who do. And so that's why I feel grateful. It wasn't necessarily in an observation of a particular holiday, but it was certainly, I was very grateful to attend any gathering where people get together and pray together and in our like relatives. And so I will be grateful for that opportunity, and that's why my heart always is very mindful of people out there, relatives out there who feel alone at that time. And so I was at the same time I observed that as well. So I always like to get started with a good smudge to cleanse, to purify, and also a way of prayer. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go into today's reading of the meditation with the Native American Elders. And I always make sure, and those of you that have seen my videos are going to get sick, you might fast forward it, of hearing me say, I have no idea what this says. I'm not going to edit this video. This is going to go on YouTube. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to make any changes to it. The purpose is part of my own vision for myself is to put myself on the spot. I want to feel put on the spot. I want to wonder, man, am I going to do a good job with this reading today? Am I going to agree with it? Am I going to disagree with it? Am I going to put my foot in my mouth? Am I going to make a fool out of myself? And am I going to be stumped? I'm inviting that type of sort of unstructured way of doing this type of video into my life as something positive, stepping outside my comfort zone. And there's long-term there's reasons for that long-term. There's a method to my madness. There's a reason why I choose to do that, and maybe someday I'll talk about that, but typically I just like to get right to the reading. Now this looks like a long reading, so you'll have to hang in there. The way of knowledge is like our old way of hunting. You begin with a mere trail, a footprint. If you follow that faithfully, it may lead you to a clearer train, a track, a road. Later on, there will be many tracks crossing and diverging from the other. Then you must be careful, for success lies in the choice of the right road. This is a long one, relatives. I might struggle with this one. An entire apple tree is initially contained in the seed. Visions are initially contained in the idea. If you trace the path of a blooming flower backwards, It goes from blooming flower back to bud, back to stem, back to a seed. So it is in the way of knowledge. Often we will experience a hunch or a feeling that we are supposed to do something. At first, it may not make any sense. This is the seed stage. Once we start to investigate, more gets revealed. As more is revealed, the more knowledge we get. This is the way this is the way the Great Spirit guides us. And then there's a brief prayer. It says, Great Spirit, help me to choose the right choices. Okay, that reading, I don't know. That has me just like what they said when they first started talking. They said, when you look at your options ahead of you and everything's kind of going all over the place. Sometimes there are so many choices. There are so many things as options in front of us that it can be very overwhelming, such as even visualizing your options. Like where's it going to lead? We don't exactly know where it's going to lead. What is going to be the outcome? What's going to be the experience if I decide to go that way? So that even that alone, since I'm trying to do a good job on this reading, it puts my mind into complete chaos. It kind of makes me want to turn the video off and just maybe wait till tomorrow and do tomorrow's reading then. But you know what? This type of thing isn't meant just for a day, just for December 26th, which is today, 2024. This is the type of thing that is good for us to think about every day, because today the road in front of me might look unobstructed, might look completely clear of any sort of danger. If there's road signs up, they might look like, hey, a bright future ahead, safe road, the road even gets wider. What do they say? Up ahead is going to be a scenic overlook. And so it might be a smooth highway, so it might look like that, but at the same time, this reading talks in particular about when the roads when we don't exactly know which road to take. And certainly that's what I read out of it, and that may be wrong, but even the reading was chaotic. And so, relatives, I'm Indigenous. I'm from the Ihangtuan people. I'm Yankton Sioux. I'm here in South Dakota. I believe in traditional values, but what I now know is that traditional values of Indigenous Native American culture stand side by side with traditional values or values of other cultures. So when I say that, just understand that I'm speaking in regard to a commonality. And so my hope is that no matter what skin color you are, no matter what your background you are, that these type of readings bring people together as opposed to sort of divide. And I'm okay with that division because I know divisions do exist. They're just like that road. There's gonna be different ways to go. And it's going to be empowering for us to decide what road that we get to take. It feels very empowering to be able to make a decision for ourselves, right? I mean, as a child, I know that I didn't have that aspect, that I could have a choice on what route that I was going to take in life, because my early childhood certainly was there was a lot of chaos in our home. There was a lot of chaos going on in the community, in society. So that is typically the case. There's always going to be chaos and division and conflict within the community and also in the Oyate, the nation. But if it is going on within your home, which is supposed to be a safe place, then things can get really goofy. Life can get really wacky, and then it can be very confusing. And so that's why in upbringing such as mine, I developed a sense of, I was very comfortable with things being very uncomfortable. It was very normal for me to always have this sense of what's going to happen next. Where is this road going to lead? And so that was normal for me. And today, that has actually turned into a positive. And though I don't like that, I have now walked this road and journey of reflection and going back into my childhood and gaining an understanding, because that way of life really got me into a lot of trouble. Not only was the road, my perspective that I saw ahead of myself kind of just chaotic, and I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to even understand what was in front of me. But relatives, that was the reality. Okay, that was the reality. What I did back then, and what was sort of the message back then, was kind of a dehumanization strategy. Was to say, look, you need to come this way, and this is the only way that you're going to gain acceptance from us. Us meaning the wider society, the wider culture that was relatively common in that community. And I'm talking about small town South Dakota. And now anybody can experience this, but my experience as an Indigenous Native American, but you can experience this if you're like poor, okay? If you're in poverty, you can experience this type of perspective if you even have like red hair. I mean, there was jokes about kids with red hair and freckles. If you look different on the outside, then you need to abide. You need to learn a certain set of rules that you need to abide by, or you're going to be left out. You're going to be left behind. You're not going to be picked for the team. You're not going to be trusted. In fact, you're going to become somewhat of a target to strengthen that indicator that you don't belong. And that was my experience. But the tragic and sad part about that experience is that was also within the home. And it was, so in other words, the impact of the wider society can be in such a way that can be in chaos, that can have all these messages attached to them, whether they be unconscious, like those rules are there, you get to know those rules, and we don't necessarily have to tell you those rules, but now you know, and so now you consciously and unconsciously know them, and so you unconsciously know that you have to abide by those rules. Okay, and so that can be very damaging, certainly, to people who don't on the outside fit in. And that was certainly my case, because we certainly did not fit in. And it can be even more damaging when that safety net, when that acceptance, when the opposite is not within the home, and the same type of thing is in the home. The same type of strategies, the same type of mentalities, the same type of behaviors, the same rules are in the home. And so where we're supposed to learn that type of thing is in the home. And this is going to, relatives, I'm freestyling, so I'm hoping to come back to what the reading said, but like I said, that's what these type of readings are about. I don't know how I'm going to respond to them. I don't know what I'm going to think. I have no idea what I'm going to say. Okay, so in the home was that type of chaos, there was no guidance whatsoever. There wasn't no guidance whatsoever. And there wasn't any guidance on the exterior, whether it be at school. There wasn't any guidance in the in the peer relationships, as far as guidance, as far as what does a healthy person look like, what does a structured and healthy road or even a healthy outlook, because a road can contain a way of life, perhaps portions of a year or portions of our life, if we look back on it, were extremely dangerous. We don't know how we got through that. There was a lot of danger. There was a lot of, like I said, there was a lot of confusion. And then we're brought up into a rule set, a strategy that makes it even worse. So, I mean, it's no wonder that my life was very, very chaotic. And I picked up that mindset in that set of rules as I went throughout my day. I didn't know what it was like to have peace. And so naturally, I'll get back to the reading. Naturally, by no fault of my own, nor by no fault of my parents or where I was at, it was just simply at that time, that's where society was. Okay? So I'm not doing the blame game here, relatives. But what I am doing is that I am doing my best to be honest about my experience, with knowing that this is part of the road that I'm on, knowing that the perspective that I have now is going to be important on what I see in this day within myself, the person that looks back in the mirror. And that's the most important part. That's what all that chaos will affect, is how you, because when I look in the mirror, I'm not able to see clearly because there's things blocking what I'm seeing. And so I gain comfort and I gain familiarity with the type of road that is unsafe, with the type of journey that is unsafe. I see a road or an option that is filled with danger as being familiar to me. And guess what that does? That puts me in dangerous situations throughout my life. That puts me in relationships that are dangerous. Number one, why? Because that's what's familiar to me. It puts me in peer-to-peer sort of relationships. I'm talking about romantic relationships that are unhealthy and that are dangerous for me. And I can go into what danger means and what unhealthy means. Hopefully have some time. I also got some soup on the stove. I'm gonna go check on that because I'm smelling it and I'm hoping that it isn't like overflowing. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna have to turn it down, I can tell. So sorry about that, relatives, but gives you a chance to look inside the world of a bachelor. And I probably should, whoa, that's boiling. Yeah, I'm gonna turn that down to warm, and I'll get back to it because I do want to finish this video. Why don't you just come along with me? Come along with me, friends. I'm going to stir this. Oh my gosh, I did not plan this at all. Okay, I'm going to stir this. People are probably wondering what this is. This is hamburger soup. This is something that is special to me because it makes me think about my older brother, who I just got off the phone with. But he taught me how to make it. I know it's probably easy for people to make, but I think about my older brother when I make hamburger soup and when I'm eating hamburger soup, and he makes the best hamburger soup. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get to the point. Tea stuff, hot stuff coming through. Yeah. So the point is that it may seem, and it's very much a part of life to look at our future or to think about our future and to see chaos in many roads, because life does present us a lot of options. And that's why I think it's really important for us, especially for those of us that grew up within unhealthy communities, unhealthy families, to go back and to do that type of healing work so we can take down the blockages of that are around us. Because like I said, I developed tendencies, habits to get myself into trouble with who I was hanging around with, who I was going into relationships in, even the type of jobs and even the type of lifestyles. The type of lifestyles, the type of behaviors that I had, even the words that I chose to use, the words that I chose to use reflected who I was. They told people who I was, and I used a lot of cuss words. That was an indication of the road that I had traveled. That was the indication of the walk, of the area that I had come from. And so that behavior, that value system was there, that behavior system was there. I became a part, even though I didn't want to, and I swore that I would never be like that. I perpetuated, I became the person that was like that which I came from. And that was very difficult for me to look at. But again, I couldn't see it because I had these blockages up. I only knew what I knew. So in other words, going back to the reading, it was very difficult for me to see that I had other choices, because from your own perspective, you only see and feel comfortable, you only feel comfortable in making and going down roads that you are familiar with. Even if there are danger signs, even if there's darkness there, you know how to function in the darkness. You know that there is to be unexpected things within the darkness. You know that there is a monster in the dark. You know that there is danger in the dark. You know that you're going to be in trouble, that you are going to find trouble, you are going to find danger in the dark. But you're familiar with that. And so that's the impact that can be developed. For me, that's the reality of the situation. And then when we look at a clear road that has flowers and that has scenic view overhead, clear path ahead, there's no obstructions, there's no darkness, it is all light, you can see, you're kind of tiptoeing around, you don't feel like you don't belong there, you don't feel good enough to belong on that road, you think that something's going to happen. This is a trick, okay? A road cannot be this peaceful. So you can actually, what they call that self-sabotage, actually we can be impacted by our childhood and by our experiences, and even an experience even when we get older, in such a way where we can be sort of put in and believe that we only have one alternative in life, and thus we view this multitude of options as chaotic. We view it as chaotic because we've been walking a thin line all of our lives, and we aren't comfortable when it's peaceful. And so it's been really valuable for me, and I had to get to a point, relatives, where I just got myself into a ton of trouble, and just a boatload of trouble, and that was the only motivator for me to finally take a look and go back and look at my life and understand more about why I was the way that I was, and why it was that I developed these habits, these tendencies, these outlook, these behaviors, these value systems, even these word systems. Your words are going to tell you who you are. And the words that I used definitely reflected the path that I just came off of. Okay? But you know what? Now that we're in a time of change, because things can change, people do change, I can change. And now I can start to look at myself in such a way of inner reflection, make that of value in my life. This is going to be important for me. Gut level honesty is going to be a priority and a value in my life. Now I'm changing the rules. I'm breaking the old rules, and now I'm restructuring and changing the dynamic of the family system. This ain't no small thing. This is big spiritual work, relatives. Now we're walking on a spiritual journey, and now we are teachable. Rock bottom can be the best place because now we are teachable. Now we are capable of being honest. And that can definitely change the trajectory of not only where we're going to go, but where we see where we're going to go. And so now we can start to develop a vision for ourselves based upon that gut level honesty that it takes for any Tioshpai, any family, for any person to be able to see what the road looks like ahead. And I'm telling you right now, it is very difficult. It is a climb, but is well worth that. And so now, prior to when they describe that road ahead filled with chaos, now I'm seeing options. Now I'm seeing alternatives, that I have a choice because I've done that homework, or however you want to say it, that work on myself to bring down the blocks in my own life so I can see what's ahead. And that brings safety. That type of outlook sees that it is okay to feel safe. It is okay to feel important. It is okay to have dreams for myself. It is okay that I speak. It is okay. I am just as valuable as anybody else, because we are all have access to that path, to that journey now, right? Now I know that for myself, where prior I didn't know that. And that society strengthened that, and they just bombarded me with the message that constantly said, you're not good enough. What are you doing here? You don't belong here. You have to abide. You have to look the way that we look. You have to talk that we have the way that we talk. You have to behave that you have to believe the way that we believe. And of course, when you look the way that I look and you don't, well, guess what? You're breaking the rules, and you're going to be isolated, and you're going to be left out, and that the impact on that is self-esteem, is self-image. It's about the future. It's about how we see ourselves in this world. And myself, that I am very, very worried about our relatives out there that still have those blockages up, and I know are being bombarded by those messages. You see now that I'm older, and now that I can protect myself. I mean, I can protect myself with this. Don't get me wrong, but I don't have to. Now I know what the threats to my self-esteem are. Now I know what the threats to my image are. Now I know that Creator, God, however you want to call it, that I also need to find self-acceptance for myself. And now I know what it feels like when somebody tries to take that away and steer me down a path that I don't belong in, that I am no longer a part of, that I don't have any business. I can clearly see now That is a dangerous path for me to walk on. And there's only one reason why I'm going to go down that road, relatives. There's only one reason why I'm going to go down that road. Love you too, bro. Only one. One reason, okay? And that is to go find the people that are on that road and bring them back. Okay? And that is the value of working this, of learning this type of road. And it was unfair, and it was unjust, it was painful, it was harmful. I developed a lot of resentments. I was ready to take some folks out. I was ready to do, and I did do a lot of that. That's why I'm so grateful that I'm even sitting here alive today, relatives. But I made it through, and I don't know, I guarantee you, relatives, I'm not any smarter than the next person. I'm not any luckier than the next person. I guarantee you I'm not any more blessed than the next person. Okay? That is part of the great mystery. I don't know why, but I'm not going to spend that much time reflecting on that part. Why? And I will. That is natural. I'm going to do that. That is part of being human. I'm not going to allow myself to be dehumanized anymore. Okay, I can go down that road. I know I can see the indicators where a road that leads, where they're going to dehumanize, where they're going to put you in a box, and they're going to tell you you have to abide by a certain set of rules. I can get into relationships with romantic relationships with a gal who has her own set of rules, and they clash with mine, but guess what? I know better. I know what I bring. I know what I now bring into this world. I know what there is to offer. Okay? And the only reason I'm going to go back on that dark road is to find relatives. And when I say relatives, I mean everybody. Black people, white people, Native people, Hispanic people, Latino people, Asian people. I'm going to go on that road, and I'm going to tie, trust me, I'm going to make sure, because now I know, remember, those blocks are down. I can see, through my own experience, my personal experience, I know how to face those dangers. I know how to climb those mountains. I know what's in the dark. I know when somebody's trying to reduce me. I know when somebody is being abusive. I know what it's like to say no. I'm standing my ground. Now I am equipped. I am specifically skilled to go down those, but I had to do the work on myself, mind you, first. Okay, there are no shortcuts around this. Okay, there ain't. Excuse me, I'm getting a phone call, but I'm going to. And the only reason I'm going to go back onto those dangerous roads is to find people who can't find their way through. And so all that learning experience and all that chaos, now I see as options. Now I see as alternatives. Now I have purpose. Now I have a much improved self-image. Now I have a much improved behavioral belief system. There are things that I do behave like that I don't behave like before. I've broken the rules. Now I've established new rules, and I behave based upon that value system. And that might not align real well with my neighbor, but that's not to judge my neighbor, because they might come from a different culture. They might be at a certain part of their own journey. I'm going to focus on myself first. And now my value system is in balance with all of creation. Now my belief system, because creation doesn't want us to walk around thinking that we are less than, and we only have to be in a box, and we only have to learn by a specific set of rules that are forced upon us. Creation does not, that is not in natural creation. Okay, so now I'm bringing the spiritual principles into my belief system about things about where I believe. What did I believe before? Where did that come from? What am I believing now? What am I going to let go? What am I going to believe now? Trust me, in 10 years, there's going to be a lot of change with that. Now my value system. What are the spiritual laws? What are the things that I value as far as principles and characteristics of what makes a person a man, a person, a good person, unhealthy person, or a healthy person, and somebody that lives in harmony, somebody that lives in balance. Okay, I need to learn what I definitely know what out of harmony is. And now I need to learn and prioritize for myself. I'm not going to wait on you. I'm not going to wait on her. I'm not going to wait on them. I am going to take the lead on that learning about what is in harmony. I am not going to wait anymore. Okay, now my word system is equally as important, because your words are you can dress up in your finest tuxedo, shine your shoes, but it's going to be your words that is going to tell you who you are. And so now my word system, the words that I choose to use, and the words that I decide that no longer serve the principles, the values, and the behaviors, all of them need to be in harmony and in balance with each other. So the words that I'm going to use now and the words that I'm not going to use, equally important. I need to inventory those characteristics of myself, for myself, and then I'm going to set some new rules, impose some new rules on myself, and then it takes about 2 weeks to develop a habit and to change a habit. And so then I'm going to take 2 weeks and I'm going to bring that type of language into my life, and guess what? And you're going to see results. And so you will understand that if you knew me 10 years ago, that I speak completely different today, because I have chosen to make language a priority. The words that I use and the words that I don't use. You will hardly ever hear me cuss. Ever hear me cuss. If you're close to me like my brother, you'll hear me cuss more often. But part of my resolution to myself was to even cut that down. So I'm making changes every single day. And now I understand that the road that I'm on is much clearer. When you have that, you have clarity of mind. You have clarity so you can see what's in front of you. And now when things get chaotic and things get goofy, and you know life does that, that's just a part of life. Now you can start to understand where it is that you stand. Where it is, who it is that you're looking back. When you go down to the creek and you look down into the water like our elders used to do, be honest. Take an honest inventory. Take an honest assessment, but don't do it alone, relatives, because you might still be a part of a system that is unhealthy. So if you go down and try and look at your reflection when you're in an unhealthy system, you're going to have that unhealthy perspective that is going to tell you what you're looking at. But if you're in a system that now you can create your own culture, now you are empowered to do that. The Creator is within all of us. Everything that is of good is also within us. Everything that is of bad is also within us. We just need to acknowledge the fact that that is within us. And now when we go down there, we ask the Creator to be with us. Because prior to, it would be an elder to take us down to the creek. And sometimes we don't have that elder, but we take the Creator with us, and we say, help me take an honest look into the water and take an honest look at the person that I see back. And there's always going to be changes that need to be made. There's always going to be things that we need to change. There's always going to be things that we need to work on. There's always going to be things that we're not going to like about ourselves. But also and that's healthy. That is healthy thinking. That is healthy behavior. That is a healthy value system. That is even healthy language. And that is in harmony, because the trees do that, the seasons do that, the weathers do that, the waters do that, even the grandmother earth does it. All of creation does that. And so we're operating now. We are in the natural thought system of in harmony with all of creation. And now when we have that, now we looking in the mirror, we're looking in the water, and we're able to honestly assess ourselves. It takes strength, it takes guts, it takes whatever it does for you to do that. But that's healthy. That is a healthy choice. I'm making a healthy observation now. And you have to understand that if you see things that you don't like, that indicates that you are at a place that tells you that you are honest. That is a quality characteristic. And you have to also understand that everybody, you're not alone. We all have characteristics of ourselves that we need to let go of, that we need to grow out of, that we need to change. That's what a healthy, honest assessment will do. So when you come upon that road and everything seems chaotic, that you're able to clearly see your choices. We can't always see where the road is going to go. But now we're not reduced into a box that says this is my only choice. This is all I got. This is all it will ever be. This is the way that it will always go. And that will be a scary road too, relatives, because oftentimes that's going to ask us to make changes to ourselves. And that's where a lot of people turn back. They don't want to make the changes to themselves. And that includes, taking that reflection. Okay, what do I need to change about myself? But it also includes, do I need to make a job change? Do I need to make change in a relationship? Do I need to make nutritional changes? It's meant to take us outside of our comfort zone. But creation tells us that this is a natural part of being. Okay, so we use in English terms, we use these scary terms like comfort zones and uncomfort zones, and that's what creates stress. But when we start to use remember, we're looking at our word system. We're taking an honest, deep look at the words that we choose to use in our lives. Because guess what? When I was swearing like a sailor, guess what? I hung out with people who swore like sailors. I didn't get that was standing in the way of my growth on words that I can actually use that would benefit the outlook that I wanted to have for my own life. Hey, if you're a sailor and that's the way you talk and that fits great with you, then so be it. But for me, I had to learn. I knew I have to learn a new way of speaking, because this isn't working for me no more. And when I do that, it helps me recognize my value system, my behavior system. It helps me understand more about behaviors, values, my spiritual, and also my lifestyle system. It becomes a lifestyle. Pretty soon that language brings you closer to people. But it'll, it brought you closer to the people who swore like a sailors. But guess what? They was up to no good, and you was always getting in trouble. You were always going that cycle of self-harm, and it was always the same thing. But again, that's what that thing is, will acculturate to you too. That is what's familiar. So you have to be willing to make those changes, to be uncomfortable, to step outside of the box, to create new rules, new behaviors, new word systems, new value systems, and start to look at Mother Nature and within yourself and look through all of creation on what being out of harmony looks like, feels like, sounds like, and start to feel comfortable with being in harmony. And it can be tough. It can be tough because guess what? You might have to leave that marriage. I'm not saying that you do. I'm just saying those are typically what cause people to go back, right? Typically because they think in fear terms. Well, if I leave that marriage, oh my gosh, my kids are going to hate me. You know what happens? They've proven. They said, the best thing you can do as a parent is to make healthy choices. Kids are resilient. They bounce back. That is one of their gifts. But if you stay in an unhealthy marriage, you do more damage to them. So, I mean, I've never been married relatives, so I can't speak to that. I'm just using that as an example. And I'm just telling you that this is a tough thing to do, but it's worth it. It's hard. It could be that when it's getting difficult, that is an indicator that change does need to happen, that you are out of harmony. But also, it could be that when things get difficult, that you are going and walking in an in harmony way. Sometimes it actually has to get worse before it gets better. So, that's why we need to do these type of things on a daily basis. So, anyways, I'm going to go check up on my soup. I'm sure I need to stir it. Please share this please like and share my page. This will go on YouTube. I have been doing this on Facebook for quite some time, but now I've taken to YouTube. I just started, so I know it'll take a long time to grow. Please feel free to comment. Please feel free to email me, reach out to me, and we can have, reach out to me. Get by email, and we can talk. Okay, we can talk. All right, we'll talk to you later. Have yourself a good day.